Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mom Project's Masterclass, Job Hunting, How to Use AI. Oh, here I can.
No, it's okay. We're good.
Oh, there we go. How to use AI to land your next role. I am here today with some of the Mom Project's favorites, Susan and Kelly from Prepare to Launch You. And today we're going to dive into some practical tips, guidance, and ideas about how AI can streamline your job hunt, from compelling great resumes, crafting standout cover letters, and mastering interview preparation and beyond. And we know that the job market is constantly evolving. And so staying ahead means working smarter, not harder. And that's where AI comes in. Whether you are navigating a career pivot, looking for something new, or ready to re-enter the paid workforce, today we will equip you with some actionable strategies that make AI work for you. Before we get started, just a few notes from our end. This session is recorded and will be available to rewatch here on LinkedIn and on our YouTube channel. We will have time for a Q&A at the end, so add any questions that you may have into the comments. And then we'll also send a post-event email with details from Susan and Kelly and a link to watch the recording. Well, welcome, both of you. I'm so happy you're back.
Happy to be here. Thanks a lot for having us, Elizabeth.
Yeah, we just said when you sent us behind stage, we said, we just love working with her. Yeah.
We do too. And one of my coworkers was like, "Are you ready for today?" And I'm like, "We're in such great hands with Susan and Kelly. I'm never worried." Well, so before we dive into all these amazing strategies, let's just kind of catch up a little bit. As moms of 4, both of you, which is incredible, do you have any personal tips for this like end of school year sprint that we're in?
Yes.
Well, you're in it more than I am because my kids are a little older.
I literally said to her when we started our workday today, I said, I look at my calendar for the next 2 months and I start to panic.
Palpitate.
So for me, non-negotiable is I have to exercise every day, like 20 minutes or more, even if it's 20 minutes. But I have to offload. I got to siphon off those 9,000 stress cycles that get ignited in these last 2 months. So for me, that's like a non-negotiable.
And even though my kids are, college and above, it's still busy time because it's a lot of events. And I just learned to say no more, like looking at the things that you really have to do and the things that you might want to do, but that don't need to be done.
Yeah.
And then we'll just get rid of a lot of the things. Sometimes we make more work for ourselves. And the more things you can just say, you know what, I don't need to do this. Mm-hmm. The more free time you have to do the exercise and the sleep and the eating well that you need to.
Yes. And I have the most horrible habit of being like, yes, we'll do this. Yes, we'll do this. Yes. And then I also have the most horrible habit of having to backtrack. So I just need to save myself time and energy.
Yes.
Those are really great tips. Thank you. What have you been reading lately?
Well, I'm reading The Secret Life of Trees, which is nonfiction because my favorite 2 books of the last decade were, oh my God, the Overstory, which if you've never read, it's epic. It was, I think, won the Pulitzer, and Cloud Cuckoo Land, which are both about tree. Yeah, they're just both great stories about trees, and they kind of build in the science of it. So I'm kind of on a tree kick. And it's spring, so I'm getting ready to garden.
You love trees. You love
I do love my trees. Yeah.
That goes.
Yeah.
Well, mine's a little different. I'm actually reading The Anxious Generation.
Oh,
I'm going to be totally honest and transparent. I'm listening to
that's
it's on Spotify.
Yes. But it's really, really eye-opening, especially for us moms, about, what's happening because of social media, because of the fact that our kids are walking around and the statistics around it and what we can be doing. It's really, really eye-opening. So just trying to be a little more aware because I span from 21 to 5 in my household. So it's an interesting dynamic. I have one who didn't have social media. There was no such thing. On his rise up, and then, his brother's a little bit more and a little bit more, but my 5-year-old, it's like, you could have an iPad at 2, know,
most kids do.
Yes. Yeah. Like the way my 5-year-old works the iPad, I'm like, okay. That's on my reading list.
Yes.
It's bad when you start asking her for tech advice, then you've crossed the line.
I don't know how to download this app. It hasn't gotten there yet. And then what about any big summer plans?
Well, we have a big family trip that we take every year. That's all 25 of us. So my siblings and our 4 kids and that whole thing. So we're doing that just 1 week this year. We usually try for 2, but now that the kids are in college and starting work, it's harder. And then we'll do another trip for 6 of us in August. And then my husband and I are going to do some type, I haven't told you this, some type of European bike trip in September for our anniversary. Yes.
Fun.
So
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
So I am a baseball mom through and through. You will find me traveling somewhere in a really nice
I expect you to be able
Hampton Inn.
I expect you to pitch pretty well by now.
Yes, I know. But yeah, we have our youngest is in the recruiting process, or our youngest of the oldest boys is in the recruiting process. And so I will be living and getting lots of Marriott.
You'll go at the end of the summer. You'll go. Right?
Oh yeah, we do. We take one full family, everybody taps out of life vacation to Block Island, and it's a great trip. Yet we have to get.
Yeah, we're on the East Coast, so Block Island and Cape Cod are 2 kind of summer places. Yeah.
Amazing. Those sound so fun. I'm already so
You
excited.
doing anything good?
I'm going to Michigan with my family at the end of August. But because we're in Houston, it's so hot that like by the time August rolls around, we're all just ready to get out of here. And so it's so nice to like be in a sweatshirt and sit by the lake. So I'm so excited. We're really looking forward to it.
Oh, that's great.
I know. Well, we will go ahead and dive in, but for those watching, let us know where you're coming from today. We'd love to hear where you are tuning in from. And I will go ahead and pull up the slides and let you two get into it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So if you have questions, rather than waiting until the end, write them right into the chat. So Elizabeth can kind of cue them up for us because they will come up as you go. I'm going to enlarge this so we can read it. Yeah. So welcome. I'm Susan.
And I am Kelly.
And just a little bit about us, as Elizabeth mentioned, we're both moms of 4, and we took caregiving breaks and returned to work. We both chose to return as entrepreneurs, but we understand the challenges that many of you are experiencing.
Yeah. And we have a combined 40 years of experience helping women across the globe now successfully navigate work and life transitions. We're longtime partners of the Mom Project now. We've been in the trenches with you for a while, and we're trusted experts in the field of women in work.
We also come at our work with really diverse perspectives. So Kelly has a background in education, both in the classroom and in a leadership role in curriculum design. I come from tech and then moved into recruiting, consulting, and coaching. So we have this, and Kelly's also a licensed life coach. So we come at it the way we need to, which is looking at the whole person and all the elements of that life and work kind of synergy piece. We are using AI. We're just today, we navigated this platform. There's a little bit of a glitch at the beginning. Between the 2 of us, we're able to figure out most tools, and we're learning to embrace AI, which is inevitable in our own work.
Right. Yeah. And just be discerning as to where it can help you and where it can hurt you.
Yeah. So. And that's what we'll talk about today. I thought there was a bear.
Yeah, I know.
There's a lot of bears around us.
Know.
So what we're going to cover today, the what. So what AI tools might you encounter during your career search? And then why and how companies are using them? And then what ones you may want to use on your own behalf to help with your search.
Right. And then how different AI tools can help and hinder, as I was saying before, you in those key phases of the job search. So specifically, we're going to really hone in on the resume and the LinkedIn profile writing, networking, applying for jobs. Actually, applying for jobs, we're going to talk a bit about how companies are using them, using AI themselves now. Interviewing and negotiating can be a place where you can use AI. So,
and I think what you'll find is at times you're going to feel like, okay, these ladies are talking out of both sides of their mouth. Just bear with us because we will be. We're going to be teaching you how to use AI. And then in many cases, we're going to be telling you why not to use it. Because very often that tried and true standard approach, the low-tech approach is the better one to take. But we'll let you know when it's not and when it is.
And the low-tech being you.
Yeah,
being the driver.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what AI tools will your ideal employer use? I think it's really important to know what they're using and why they're using it now. This is a great little tidbit to stick in your brain.
Most of them, well, first of all, most employers, according to Forbes, and this study was done last year, 84% are embracing AI to help improve their recruiting and hiring practices. Traditionally, technology has been used just to make things quicker and more easily managed.
But now it's like the volume.
But now the volume is high, so they're still using it for that. But they're also looking to use it in more qualitative ways. And I think the jury's out on how well it works. But what you have already seen for a number of years now, AI is used to write job descriptions. You will see if you're looking for a job that job descriptions are often written in very similar language. That's because they're using the same tools to write them. They use AI to power the algorithms that power job boards, that screen candidates. They use them to create online tests and assessments to vet you before you're brought onto the team. And they're even used to power different interview tools like interview bots.
Right. But at the end of the day, the only person that can hire you is a human. So, that's just, you got to tuck that in your back pocket.
Exactly. Because that's a big piece of it. And then they also use it for evaluating compensation. So the other thing you'll find, maybe 10 years ago, you might see a lot of disparity between offers, but not so much anymore because they're using tools. It's almost like they're all kind of colluding to make sure that they're offering about the same thing so that everybody's competitive. So let's talk about the tools that you can use.
Yeah. So you could use AI tools to help you do the writing piece. So for resume, cover letter, LinkedIn, your LinkedIn page, and to make the content visually appealing.
We'll be unpacking that in a moment.
Yeah. Because there's some caveats to that.
Lots.
Yes.
You absolutely have to use the AI enhanced LinkedIn platform for networking. It's 10 times more likely that you land a job by applying through, by using LinkedIn than by just applying on a job board. And we'll talk about that. We call applying on the job board post and pray.
Yes.
It's kind of what it is.
Yes. So specialized AI powered tools help you prepare for interviews. There's a lot that's out there. We're going to talk to you about some of the best ones to use. It's also used for research and data mining. We'll talk to you about that too. And it's really helpful to just practice because as we know, good interviews have a lot of practice behind them. So you're really letting those words roll off your tongue. And there's some tools out there that you can be using to get some feedback in real time.
And just as companies will use aggregate data sites to determine what they're going to offer you, you have access to that data as well through different sites so that you are able to shrewdly negotiate, knowing what you're worth and what the market holds for the role that you're applying for. So we're going to break each one of these elements down kind of in its own slide.
Right. And we're going to take a look at the content, the format, and the compatibility. And we're starting with resume because that is the one that everybody comes to us at first, like saying, we need help with our resume. And there's so many other things that you need to be doing, but we can really dive into this right now. So,
and it's interesting. We just finished our 10-week course and a couple of students came in and they were like, okay, I'm writing my resume on day 1. And we don't write resume until week 4. Because the key in writing a resume, if you've watched any of our work with the Mom Project, and Elizabeth, you definitely agree with this, you have to know your brand.
Yes.
And you have to know your audience. Because you can only have one LinkedIn profile. You could easily write 6 different versions of your resume for 6 different audiences, but you can't count on the fact that the LinkedIn page will be aligned with that resume they're looking at. And the minute I, as a hiring manager, see Kelly Biskupiak on paper looks nothing like Kelly Biskupiak online, I'm not interviewing her, let alone hire her. So there are sites that can help you write your resume. And this is just a sampling of a few that we've tested out. We're not a huge fan of using them, but these are better sites. Zeddy, Resi, and Resume.io. They have free tools. Most of the time, what these sites will do is they'll pull you in with the free, which isn't as much as you need or want.
And then they sell you into something
Exactly.
else.
The other problem with them is that what makes them good, aside from that, yes, they'll make sure that your grammar is appropriate and they might, wordsmith somewhat, but they're making sure that your resume is stacked with keywords that will survive an algorithmic assessment, which means that they're writing them for you to apply online. And you have about a 10% chance of getting an interview by applying online. Unless you have very conventional experience that is very, very easily distilled in, ones and zeros, you're not going to get through. I would never get through. Kelly would never get through. Elizabeth, you might even not get through because you haven't had a conventional career. So I guess the mindset behind it is, yes, I can use these tools, but who do I really want to write this for? I want to write it for a human.
Right.
So you can also use ChatGPT. Now, that one we're a little bit more open to because sometimes you can use it for editing purposes. So you might write a first draft of a resume and then put it in there and say, can you get this down from 3 pages to 2?
Yeah.
And then compare, You don't want to ever just trust that it's doing it right.
And Susan and I talk about this all the time when we're in our courses, especially when we get to the resume portion of the course, that, you know, this is something that we have an expertise in now. And so it comes easy to us. This is something that many of you maybe have done a handful of times, if maybe 2 or 3 times in the course of your career. And it feels overwhelming when you're having to write your resume. So sometimes just using these, you know, these tools that we're talking about here as a starting point, right? That you're going to build off of, you're going to enhance, you're going to really bring your voice to, is a great route to go when you feel that sense of overwhelm, like, oh my gosh, I cannot do this. And I'm going to go spend $500 to $1,000 to have a resume writer to then write my resume. And then that is a hot mess in and of itself, because then it's not you writing it. So
well, we ran into this recently. A person that we work with outside of our company, that's kind of like, we work with the Mom Project, we work with lots of different organizations. And when her written material is very polished, but her presentation isn't. And that doesn't mean it's bad or good, but there's a disconnect.
Right.
When we read from her, we expect a certain level of dialogue with her, and we don't get that. And it's not that one is better than the other, but the one thing everybody wants to be surrounded with is authentic, real people. Right. So having somebody write something that you can't speak to isn't going to help you. It actually will hurt you. So ChatGPT, like those other sites that we mentioned earlier, it's still going to pack your resume with keywords, because that's what it understands, because that's what most people are doing. And we're always shocked at everyone, even in our space, is still saying, you got to write your resume with keywords to get through the algorithm. The stats that we have are not hard to find. They're widely available. It is nearly impossible to get through a job board, and much less possible if you have a career gap. If you might have taken a career break, or you took maybe a lesser role for a period of time while your kids were young, whatever it is, or you pivoted. An algorithm doesn't read that. Our algorithm is looking for patterns. And once the pattern falls off the wheel or the wagon, it's not going to work for you. So always keeping in mind what the AI is trained.
Right.
It uses large language models, which is basically what's representative out there. And what's representative out there is keywords are what need to be in a resume. Not necessarily true.
So talk a little bit about JobScan.
So this is something else that ChatGPT can do. So JobScan is a site. Again, you can kind of get hooked in with the free and then get charged. And it will scan your resume against a job description. So you upload the job description and the resume, and it will tell you what your level of compatibility is. LinkedIn does this too, right into I think it's in their basic premium level, which is $29.99. They will tell you on a score how well you meet the job criteria of a job description. But if you take the time to read a job description. Most of the job descriptions represent a human that could not exist. There are so many things.
I love the way you say it. It's like every
hiring manager wants to hire a 22-year-old with 18 years of experience and no family. I mean, they want someone who doesn't exist. They want someone who's available all the time and knows everything and is fully, has full fealty to them.
You want the full Christmas list.
Yeah, and you're not going to get that. So we've said this before. Typically, a woman won't apply for a job until she meets 90 to 100% of the job criteria. Men, once they meet the 40 to 50% threshold, and these stats have also been highly vetted, will apply. So women are putting themselves at a disadvantage before they even start. The men are a lot smarter here, because if you look at the job description, you can usually tease out which things really matter and which things don't. And so knowing that, we want to think, okay, if that job algorithm in the ATS is looking for every single thing and I don't have it, am I going to get through? It's always going to favor the people who have more. But if women don't put their hats in the ring, they're never going to even get a chance. So JobScan will do that. ChatGPT, you could do the same thing. You could say, here is a copy of a job posting, and here's my resume. We do something similar. Yeah, I think we do. Yeah. And then these tools we like, this last bullet.
Yes. And the reason why we like them is because this is another place where you can get hung up in actually getting the resume done. And that's the formatting of it, right? So you can take that headache away from yourself by using some of these platforms like a Canva or Loom or Etsy, and just plug and play. Right? Just work on the wordsmithing, work on making this resume something that is authentic and speaks to your voice. and don't worry so much about the hangups and bang-ups of formatting things.
However, if you are a career relauncher, one of the ways, because if you're feeling like I don't want to look old or outdated or kind of out of touch, having a resume that really looks good, that's in a current font, might have just something interesting, graphically interesting, will make you feel more confident when it gets out there.
Absolutely. Would you do your expert tip there?
Yeah, I can embed it. Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to break down cover letters because you must write a cover letter, and these tools will help. And we have a little strategy around if you are applying online and you're pushing it through. If there is no place to upload a separate cover letter, do you want to tell them?
Just take your resume, add your cover letter as the first page, and save it as a PDF so that when they open it, they get it. The reason you want to write a cover letter, regardless of whether they encourage it or not, is that it's showing that you're taking extra time. And if you write a cover letter that is unique to that job, if it really is personalized, and again, I'm only going to scan it, but I can tell if it's a form letter that's gone out to everybody else, or if it's something that Elizabeth Shackelford took some time to write. And that is automatically going to give you a plus, because when it makes it very easy for employee or prospective employees to apply for a job, it makes the job harder on the receiving end, because I don't know how many of you are really serious about this job.
Right.
So I'm getting 5,000 applicants, maybe only 200 are really want to work here. And when you take the 20 minutes that it takes to write a good cover letter, that's telling me you're interested. Yep. So absolutely do that. And again, any of the sites we mentioned on the past slide, the Resi, the Zeti, those, but also Kick Resume and Teal, you can, or which are kind of designed for cover letters, they can help you.
Yeah.
Again, and so can ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Here's my resume. Here's the job. Write me a cover letter.
Grammarly,
Grammarly's great too. If you just want to write it yourself.
And if you're doing your own edits and you just want to make sure everything is grammatically correct, the only thing I will caution, I'm not even sure how it ended up on my computer. I said it to you.
Oh my gosh,
I was like, Grammarly is just everywhere on my computer. I don't know what I hit. So I gotta wait for my computer science major son to come home and fix that and take that off for me.
Yeah.
But LinkedIn Learning also is another platform that offers great courses that you can take. So if you have that LinkedIn Learning asset, that access, that is a great place where you can get some instruction, you can get some templates. We actually, on our YouTube channel, we have some
I think we have some
lessons on writing cover letters.
And people don't talk about them enough, but they are a really important part of it. And we teach a real strategy for doing it in a way that's complements the resume as opposed to just repeating it. ChatGPT can also help you with a cover letter. Maybe, definitely don't want the cover letter to be 2 pages. So maybe you're a little long-winded. It can help you edit it down. It can also do kind of the editing that Grammarly might do as well. So a lot of opportunities to make your your cover letters better by using some of these tools. But I think what you said is important. Yeah. Voice is essential, having it be in your voice and tailoring it, editing it. One other thing we didn't add here is sometimes for some jobs, you might have to fill out an application where you're answering questions in narrative form, and there's a word count. And like you're at 570 words and it only holds 500. Right. That would be a good place to use ChatGPT. Throw it in and say, cut 70 words from this. Yeah. All right. So some good use of tools without letting the tools do the work for you.
Right. Okay. All right. So now we're going to move on to LinkedIn. So we've covered resume, we've covered those cover letters, and now let's talk about LinkedIn. And you must have a good LinkedIn profile. This is something for sure on our YouTube channel. We have a number of videos. Yeah. And actually, Elizabeth, I think we have some old stuff.
We did a summer workshop with Katie.
Yeah.
Let me find it.
It was pretty good. I think it was a little
it's older. That's the thing about LinkedIn. It's like,
so LinkedIn in our courses, we only teach LinkedIn Live because it changes so much, even with the 2-year lifespan of our court content, it changes. So, but there are good resources. So LinkedIn itself is really embracing AI. They're integrating it into a lot of their tools. Yes. You'll see a lot of changes going on. So the builder tool we mentioned assesses your page and gives you a score.
Right.
In terms of making a visually impressive page, we really recommend a good banner and a good photo. And don't use the AI tools that filter your photos. It's anyone we've ever seen, it doesn't look right. And it's like, it almost looks fake. And you just, if you're trying to show yourself off as authentic, You don't want to have a fake photo. But Canva is a great place to get some custom banners because you want to draw the person's eye in right away when they first look at the page. So again, Zeddy, which was one of the ones we mentioned for Resumé, they have a LinkedIn. And there's a site also called Resumé Worded. They will look at your LinkedIn profile and suggest improvements. It's interesting though. In fairness, I haven't tried one of these in about a year, but the last time I tried one, it was taking what I wrote and changing the narrative element of it and making it more kind of perfunctory. The idea of a LinkedIn profile is you are talking to me. It should be a conversation. It's not, I'm going to take my LinkedIn profile and plop, or my resume profile statement and plop it here. It is very different. You have 2,000 characters, a lot of space. Use it.
Right. It's a perfect opportunity for you to teach people who you are. So you don't want to miss that opportunity with that authenticity and uniqueness of who you are coming through in that portion.
And a little tip on LinkedIn, originally it was a place to connect professionally in lieu of like Facebook. It is much more now. It's become the biggest job board. It's probably equal to LinkedIn Indeed by now, but it's also a place for you to establish yourself as a subject matter expert. And so you want to make sure that you reach that threshold of at least 500 connections. Choose thoughtfully, but not so thoughtfully that you're being really picky. Make sure that you're posting. We have a video on this on our YouTube channel about the 4 different ways of posting and the frequency with which you should use each one, and how they kind of feed the algorithm and get people following you. Watch that one. That's a really helpful one. Definitely. But basically you want to make sure that not only are you posting a couple times a week, but when you are, and whether that's commenting something, sharing something, or writing something organically, that you're tagging people. So you will notice the Mom Project has much bigger reach than Prepare to Launch You.
Yes.
Whenever it's appropriate, we are writing to, or we are sharing and hashtagging the Mom Project so that they can help advance our message.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
All right.
All right. So now we're going to move into the searching and matching. And so some sites offer matchmaking tools, and we want to break down what those are for you.
And they are AI powered. So LinkedIn's job recommendations and Indeed's job match, they're looking at what you put in and suggesting good matches. That again underscores the importance of making sure your resume really is an authentic representation of you. You may have had early experience in accounting. Right. But you are really only interested in financial analysis jobs, and your last job was an FA, and during your career break, you were doing maybe some personal investing or working as a volunteer as a treasurer or whatever. You want to highlight the things you want to do, because if your resume reads like it's just accounting, then those are the jobs you're going to be getting from those sites. So that's the importance of having that resume right. You want to set up the custom job alerts on these job boards. And again, we said earlier, we're going to be talking out of both sides of our mouth, how you don't really want to use job boards. There is a way to use a job board, though, and we'll talk about that in a moment, that can be complemented by the more human high touch strategy so that you have better luck getting through. Job Scan, which we mentioned earlier in ChatGPT, also will help you identify a fit. They won't give you the score like LinkedIn will, but they'll give you a good narrative. Like, we think you're a good fit for this job, but these are the areas you're missing. Sometimes that can be helpful because these might be things that you have and you realize, my resume is not speaking to that. So these would be, I think, maybe helpful ways, better ways of using AI.
Yeah. And the site Shield, that can actually track your LinkedIn engagement to identify what content resonates best with your audience. So you might want to check that out if that's something.
I think I think that one may only be for fee now, but it is helpful. You can do it on your own though.
Right.
If you make a spreadsheet and just make note of what, like we see, we can't really predict which ones of our posts are going to really have. We just had, Megan and I were talking one yesterday, they had like 10,000 whatever's impressions. And I couldn't figure out why it did and the others didn't, right? But sometimes you just need to use your own eyes and look for patterns. Like, what is making people come to my page? What is making people react?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So
this is the key.
Yes. So now we're going to talk about the networking component of this and how you can use it to complement that face-to-face networking.
So some of the same Job Scan, which you mentioned, Resi Match, which is another one, they will look at your LinkedIn profile and make sure that it kind of checks the boxes so that it's appealing to the managers that you want to attract in your field.
Mhm.
And LinkedIn AI can also make connection recommendations. They have, I believe, they haven't really enhanced it or changed it a lot, but they've changed it enough, enhanced it enough so that they're digging a little deeper, but
Right.
beyond maybe what you would automatically assume. Then there's Hootsuite and Buffer. They can help you manage your social media calendars. So for example, if you are like, for us,
Right.
we have Megan who does this for us, but if we didn't have Megan, who's far better than any app, we would maybe use a tool like this to help us manage our calendar, which posts should go out when, at what time, for what audience.
Yeah.
If you are in any type of influencer role, you might be an entrepreneur, maybe you're looking to become a consultant, or some type of project worker in your industry.
Or maybe you're in a volunteer role right now,
Yeah.
but you're looking to get back into
Yeah.
that type of work, paid work, and you're just trying to grow your resume skill set, using some of this to take on a volunteer job and actually use some of these tools that can help you.
Right, because what you're
Definitely.
trying to do here is make sure that what the presence that you're trying to create in the digital world is working.
Right.
And this will help you schedule and assess.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, again, LinkedIn, you have so much access to so many great tools. Going to the company LinkedIn page of anywhere you might want to work.
Mhm.
You can do a deep dive on the people who work there. You can look at all of their posts. You can
Right.
get information that really informs you, that lets you know what might be coming. They're talking about this big deal they're working on that might hit in July. Well, you know what? That means that they're probably going to be pretty busy over the summer hiring.
Mhm.
Maybe I should just try to network my way in there now in anticipation
Yeah.
of jobs.
It's a great way to get educated.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Next one. All right.
Interviewing.
So now we're going to talk about interviewing. And this is actually a great space, because sometimes when you're practicing interviewing, especially when you're first getting going, you don't really you don't want to do it in front of anybody.
No,
you don't want
yeah,
to do it
I
with
know.
anybody. You want to so this is where AI can be really,
Yep.
really helpful.
Yeah. ChatGPT can be helpful here. One of the ways we like to use it is, remember, you can dump as much data into ChatGPT as you want. So let's say, using the example I just talked about on the last page, you're visiting a company site. This is a company that interests you. You look at the people who work there, and you want to see, you know what, like, who's in my role? I want to be a program manager. Let's say you can find 8 program managers that work there. You could dump all of their LinkedIn profiles. It takes some cutting and pasting into ChatGPT and say, please tell me what the top 8 qualities
Are.
what 8 qualities these 8 candidates have in common. And I mean, like, it's so quick. You see the little dots, and it'll show you with a certain degree, a pretty good degree of accuracy. This worked. I tell this story. My niece is an athlete, and we kind of buried it into her resume. And we did the same strategy with a tech company she was trying to join. And 8 of the 10 people in the entry-level sales role that she wanted had been Division I college athletes. So we brought it to the top of her resume, because it was really clear that that's who they hire. So just knowing that, and maybe it's not that, maybe it's knowing what to talk about on the interview, finding out that they're really involved in this alumni society, or they do volunteer work at this organization, just finding a way to weave it in. I think it's another thing that helps you understand if everyone they're hiring is of a certain type and you're not.
You can see the threads.
You can see the thread, and maybe, am I a fit there?
Yeah.
And what do I have in common with them, if anything?
Or even just have that conversation with yourself. Am I trying to put myself somewhere just because I'm taking a job, just because I want to land a job, because I want to get this, my foot in the door somewhere, or am I making the best choice for myself for the longevity of my career?
The unfortunate part of this is that it used to be that you would, most pre-COVID, a good majority of interviews were done in person.
Right.
But I think once we realized how efficient Zoom is and Teams, we just do, or Google Meet, we don't use it anymore. These are some things that you would have been able to kind of suss out by walking around the office. Right. But now we can't. So these are great supplemental tools to do that.
Yep.
Okay. Just like another use of ChatGPT, and I think we give an example of this later in the slideshow, is throwing some information about the job, some information about you. Give me 5 good questions to ask this company in an interview. So it can help you prepare for questions. Tell me what questions I might be asked, but it also can give you questions to ask them.
Yes.
Right.
And, and what I love about this is because this whole interviewing process can become extremely overwhelming, and to be able to feel confident and know, oh, well, I already have these 5 questions tucked in my back pocket to share. That's going to take some of the pressure off of you when you get in there. Another thing is to participate in AI-powered simulated video interviews. This is what I was alluding to a little earlier.
These are great.
Like via Interview Prep by LinkedIn and Interview Warm-Up by Google for assessments and feedback on your interview performance, and it's via bot, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm going to show you a screen later. We have a screenshot that shows you how to access, and this is new. The Interview Prep is available without premium now. It's limited, but it's available.
Yeah.
A great resource. If you are a tech candidate, you should be prepared for real-time assessment. Often it'll be a proctored problem that you've got to solve and write code for while someone's watching you. But you can get some mock interview examples on these sites, interviewing.io and Pramp, that are specific to tech. And then there's Big Interview I think it's a newer one. And they have, again, you can get a question from them. This one, I believe you don't video, you type your answer in and it gives you real-time feedback.
Yeah.
Right. The bottom line is you can never, ever, we have, what company is Amazon? I think it's Amazon's 38-page. Yeah. We have Amazon's 38-page interview booklet with it's all questions. And that's still not all of the questions. You can never prepare for every question. So what we teach in our programs, we recommend to you today, is create, craft, practice a few stories of you saving the day. And be prepared with these stories, because usually a good story that might answer like a time where you saved the day. It could also be a good answer for a question about how you work under pressure or how you handle chaos.
You can repackage it.
Right. So just being prepared, because you can never, ever anticipate every question you're going to get.
No.
All right.
Oh.
Yeah,
negotiating. We're already here.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the last one that we're going to cover, and that's how you can use the AI when it comes to negotiating, and tools to ensure you receive that best offer, because that's always, we are big supporters of you always negotiating for more. So let's see what we can do.
So the obvious ones are Glassdoor, PayScale, and Salary.com. You're probably familiar with all of those. And they've gotten a little bit more sophisticated, that they will also adjust geographically, because you're going to make less in Buffalo, New York than you would in LA, California. Right. So looking at those, that can be helpful. Many companies are instituting pay transparency, which can be helpful too. Glassdoor is unique in that it's not focused only on pay, but it talks a lot about culture. Like anything, you're going to see more detail in the negative reviews than the positive. But for the most part, if you're seeing general numbers in the 3.5 and up, that's probably a decent workplace culture. Right. LinkedIn has its own tool with salary insights that I think is only available for premium. And the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, like if you really want to dig deep, it's not user friendly and it's not quick like ChatGPT, but that's the place to get real hard numbers in real time. Okay. And just a tip here, we tend to focus, as all these sites do, on what your salary is. Right. Compensation is so much more than that.
Salary.
And we probably have video on that on YouTube, right?
Oh yeah, we definitely do. And it's really looking at all of the things that are included. And for many of you, flexibility is one of those things. And you should see that as a part of your compensation package, not some accommodation that this company is going to give to you or this organization is going to give to you. And we really are, we want to push you to think about that bigger picture, all of those things that you're negotiating for, that you feel like they're being good to you by doing. These are things that are going to make you successful at work. They're going to make you have the most impact when you have these certain things locked down. And, in the bigger picture, we're teaching the workforce how we need to be treated. And so it really comes down to that negotiating piece that happens when you're negotiating for your compensation. So
everything's negotiable.
Everything's negotiable. And you can find stuff about that in our YouTube channel too, for sure.
So we mentioned that we'd show you how to get that tool. If you go into LinkedIn and you go to your what's it called? Your homepage, you're going to click on, these are all the tools. Resume Builder is going to be the tool that tells you if you need to, what you could do to make your resume better. Job Seeker Guidance is where you might get some ideas on jobs that you might want to apply for. But where's the interview prep? Right here. You click on that. A camera will present itself. It'll give you a question. You answer the question, then it gives you text feedback, real-time feedback. Pretty cool tool. And you can do it in the privacy of your home without being embarrassed that somebody's watching you.
Exactly.
Here are some examples of using ChatGPT. So for resumes, right
You might
here.
want to screenshot this just because these are
good
prompts to use.
So again, take your info, like these are all the jobs I've had. This is everything I've done. Or maybe your old resume that's not really specific, and say, can you list my most relevant and valuable work experience in bullet form using active verbs and measurable data points? Because these are the things that we want to see as a hiring managers. Or here's a job description. Can you extract the 10 most important skills from this job description that might have 70 different things? You could take your LinkedIn profile or take your resume summary statement and say, please write a LinkedIn about statement, in first person narrative, in a conversational style that includes the key highlights from this profile statement.
Yeah. And that all of those prompting little tidbits right there are very important for you to put in there, because it's shifting it from it just being a profile statement on your resume into that more conversational, hey, nice to meet you, welcome to my LinkedIn page type of vibe.
But to your point earlier, I think it's better for them to use it as a foundation.
Oh yeah.
So if you really can't write, you can start here and then make it your own.
Yep.
If you are a decent writer, then you can maybe use it to tighten it up. But we're going to show you some examples of that too. Let's say you're networking and you're meeting with someone and they're 65 years old. They've had a long history. They've done a lot of things. You could cut and paste the LinkedIn profile, put it into ChatGPT and say, can you just tell me what are the key highlights of this person?
Yep.
We mentioned the one about hiring patterns within a company.
Yep.
My niece and I just did it by eye, but it took a while. If we had just cut and pasted and let ChatGPT do it, it would have come up with the same information, probably, right?
Probably more than half. Less than half.
And then for interviewing, you could say, can you tell me what questions I might be asked for this job posting? What is a good answer based on my resume for that? Why are you here? Or what impressive questions could I ask them on my interview? So this is unique to ChatGPT. It's very versatile in these ways. It's not limited. Here's a sample screen. So this one we wrote, can you extract the most desired skills for this job description? So I typed, it was a very long, it was I don't know how many pages, it doesn't show, it was maybe 8 pages. And then boom, it gives me 10 things. Number 1, project management experience. Number 2, healthcare background. And it rates them. So it's really hard when you're looking at a job description with 50 things, and they're not always in order, to know what I really need to know.
Looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT is able to do that. This is where LLMs can come in handy, because the data out there for these kinds of things is pretty consistent. It's the stuff that's more subjective that isn't. So here's a different query. This one is, to set myself apart as a candidate, can you present 10 questions I might want to ask based on my experience in this job description? And then it tells me, to set yourself apart, Susan, you could ask these questions. And it gave me some good questions. Would I have not thought of them on my own? I don't know. But again, sometimes when we're nervous, just having, even if they're questions you already would think of, having this tool vet them reminds you, okay, good, I was on the right track.
Well, and you can make them your own.
Yes,
It's this is that starting ground, and you can make them your own.
Exactly. So in this case, we took a student's resume, her experience section and skills.
This is what we're trying to illustrate here. They got to set up this slide. So we're trying to illustrate those places and spaces where you really want to have that human component. So take a look at these.
So this is a good one. Dynamic and results driven. So this ChatGPT wrote this. Results-driven communications professional with over 20 years of experience in strategic branding, PR, PM across diverse industries, including CPG, retail, real estate, and senior living. Proven track record of delivering impactful campaigns, such as leading influencer collaborations that drove 2 million in sales, developing strategies contributing to 70 million in transactions, skilled in crisis communications, creative content development, and stakeholder engagement. Experienced leader with a history of spearheading community initiatives, driving organizational growth, and fostering mental health awareness through nonprofit board leadership. Adept at building meaningful relationships and achieving measurable results through innovative, audience-centered strategies.
Mouthful.
It's a lot of words. It's a lot of words that I say don't use. Results-driven, never use it. If you're not driven for results, why are you getting out of bed? Mission-driven, no. Proven track record of, these are things that are so cliche, but remember what I said earlier, the large language models, the LLMs that AI is built on are only as good as what they have out there, and most resumes aren't good. So that's why they all sound like that. This same experience, the same person, this is what the human wrote. Accomplished communicator with senior executive experience at leading global public relations agencies, expertise across a variety of industries, working with top-tier organizations from batteries to bourbon to brokerages. Big idea, creative leader, and trained facilitator with a rare talent for hybrid thinking, equal parts strategic acumen and tactical expertise. Adept at framing unique brand identities to build architecture and create messaging that resonates across short and long-form platforms. Whether a drum-beating furry pink icon or a local real estate mogul, Anne knows every brand has a story to tell, and she knows how to tell it. I would love someone to challenge us and say that one is worse than the other one, or the other one's better, right? To each his own, but generally speaking, when you're writing a resume, when you're creating a LinkedIn page, and when you're interviewing, the most important thing is to be memorable. When I have 5,000 applicants and my recruiter is interviewing 150 people, you need to stand out. And when you talk about being results-oriented, mission-driven, and proven track record of spearheading things, I'm not going to remember you, but I'm going to remember because I'm going to know what that furry pink icon is, right? It's that Energizer bunny. I'm going to remember she was the one, that was so cool. She's worked on batteries and bourbon and real estate brokerage, right? That is the value of writing in a human voice.
Right. And so taking the shell of what a chat GPT can give you and then transform it into this really human version of what you're really trying to convey. You're really trying to show them I am a human being.
And actually that's a good point, because when in our course, the way we teach it is they start with the resume, then they go to the LinkedIn profile, then they go to the elevator pitch and the interview question. If you write it yourself, it makes it much easier for each iteration that changes slightly, but it's always your voice. And then when you're sitting in that interview, it just rolls off your tongue. Yeah.
You feel very confident. So it's a place to start if you're feeling overwhelmed though.
Exactly.
Right. But then you want to turn it into something real.
Exactly.
Okay. So where should you expect AI in your job search? So we wanted to just give a little bit of airtime to this. So many of your interviews will be AI powered. There's face-to-face, they're face-to-face with a responsive human looking chatbot. Sometimes
really strange.
It's really bizarre. Via interactive voice response audio.
So there are two companies that are commonly used, Spark Hire and HireVue, where you're answering the question, but you're just not talking to anybody. You're just on a screen and you're talking to a picture.
Yeah.
And it's reading and evaluating and then giving to the recruiter an assessment of how you did.
Right. And then there's that human interview, which is recorded and then it's scored.
So it's the same thing that I just said, except that I'm talking to Kelly.
Yeah.
But she's not even, it's so weird because she's not assessing me. The computer's assessing me. So strange.
Wild. Okay. So most assessments will be AI powered. So any of the personality assessments you're asked to do in a job interview process, behavioral assessments and skill assessments, particularly for technical positions, those are all going to be AI powered.
But only some jobs are posted on those algorithmic job boards, because depending on whose data you want to believe, anywhere between 50 and 70% of jobs 40 and 70 are never posted.
Right.
Right. I know I'm going to hire Kelly. So, I know I need, and Kelly shows up in my office when I need it. I'm going to hire her. Or before I post it, I just say, hey, team, do you know anybody who's looking? Right. And then of the jobs that are posted, only a small fraction are ever filled. Many times I know I'm going to fill the job with Kelly, but I have to appear that I'm complying with EEO compliance requirements, even though I know I'm going to hire her. So I'm going to post the job and I'm going to interview people, but I'm still going to give it to her. Yeah. So your odds of succeeding using a job board and applying only that way are very limited. What we teach in our programs, and you can find in other workshops we've done on deep dives and negotiating, is that if you pair that job posting with a phone call, with deep networking, trying to find somebody who can vouch for you, the better you're going to be.
I'm a disaster. Sorry, everyone.
No
Just, my finger
we
hit this, yeah.
include this always when we work with the Mom Project. If this looks familiar, this is the framework for talking about your career break, and no bot or AI or anything is going to be able to tell this part of the story.
This is another one to screenshot for sure.
Yeah. So you want to do the first one?
Yeah. So I loved my work and I was really good at it. It was a sacrifice to leave, and really it was. Oftentimes for many of us, walking away from a career that we loved and work that we loved doing was a sacrifice. But given my alternatives at the time, it was the right decision, and I'm glad I made it.
Then number 2, during this time, I tapped into and perfected my professional skills and experience, and I learned new things through community and leadership and advocacy roles. And then number 3,
yes, I am ready and eager to bring all of my professional training and expertise, plus my new skill set that I've honed as a community member, as a caregiver, as an advocate, back to the workplace.
Really important to explain this way and then move on. We're not apologizing for taking time off. We're not defending taking time off. The world is really fortunate that we took that time off, that we were able to invest our time in the community, make everything work so that the working people don't have to worry about whether their kids are going to have a cleared field for practice at the end of the day or school pickup.
Right.
Okay. And then lastly, we kind of talked about this. AI cannot replicate you and your voice. It's only coming from content that's out there, which isn't that good. It's only rewarding ATS friendly words, which aren't the way we really talk. It's not necessarily representing your voice, like the example we gave earlier. And when you use someone else's voice to write something for you, they're usually not well written, and they certainly don't sound authentic to you. All right. So that is the end of our program. We'll be sending up a follow-up email with links to some of these resources. As we mentioned, we do have a program. It actually starts next week for spring. If anybody's interested, you'll have some information about getting either applying and or enrolling for the program.
And Elizabeth, I think I had told you this. We are closing the applications for that, but we're extending them for the Mom Project audience today. We're going to extend that for them.
All right. So not stop Cam.
Amazing. We have so many questions, so we'll just go ahead and dive in if that's good. And then we'll include this information in the post event email. So if you haven't captured it, don't worry.
Sure. How do I stop sharing? Oh, there.
Okay. Okay. This is a good one. Is it better to apply to roles directly on the employer site versus job boards or via LinkedIn?
Yes. But always. So that's a great question. If you see a job posted on LinkedIn or Glassdoor or Indeed, always go to the site and find it there,
right?
For sure. But the numbers really aren't much more favorable. It's just more of a direct line to the employer as opposed to them going to a site. So it might just expedite things a little bit.
Right. But if you have a connection at that company or organization and you can let them know I'm applying online and could you, weigh in or find out about, who the hiring manager is.
Right. And if you don't have a connection, work really hard to find one.
Yeah.
Because the numbers are not in anybody's favor, even the perfectly qualified candidate.
Yeah.
Any tips on if you've been out of work for over 2 years, but also are looking for a career change, account management and advertising to more operational roles, or even a total career pivot into medical or legal?
Sure. Well, the first thing is you need to mine your experience to find the transferable skills.
Yeah.
Really important. Don't spend your time going back to school and getting licenses and taking coursework until you know for sure what's needed. So this would be a time where it'd be really helpful to explore and assess with people in the role. What do I need to have and what's nice to have?
Right.
Understanding the role you want to pivot into is key, because then you can look at your experience and understand more clearly what skills transfer.
Yeah.
I think you're in a good time period, because we're at a point in the world right now where, especially with Gen Z and Gen Y in the workplace, or millennials, we are seeing them make tons of lateral moves. So companies are learning to embrace that kind of movement, lest they lose their employees. So you're in good company, but the onus is on you to make the case. You can't expect me as a hiring manager to see the thread. You need to thread it for me and connect those dots so I can see why it makes total sense that someone who's worked in account management in the advertising field would be an excellent fit in an operational role in a medical organization or institution.
And it sounds like you're at a crossroads just in your career, and taking a step back and taking time to really contemplate and think this through will always serve you well.
Thanks, Krishma.
Love that. Thank you. Oh, well, on that note, I think we touched on it, but someone also asked specifically about obtaining job certifications, and do you recommend it to set yourself apart?
Right.
The short answer would be no.
It has to be vetted.
Right. It's just, but what we see a lot of women do is just glob onto any possible accreditation, license, workshop. And unless you know that those licenses and certifications are required, you're wasting your time. In some cases, it's a good way, to borrow your explanation, of hiding, of like, I'm just going to be really busy doing all of this. When
it
really
feels like work. It feels like I'm working. And oftentimes when we have that void of intellectual stimulation, and there's a gap between us and actually getting a job, filling that space with every certification, every LinkedIn course I can take, every, Google cert that I can get, all of those things then just become more things that are keeping you from actually moving the needle towards the direction and the career direction that you want to go in. So,
and it's usually not the certifications that are missing. I mean, obviously you can't be coding in JavaScript if you haven't studied it.
Exactly.
I mean, but we're talking about those softer kind of ancillary things. Those are not the reasons people don't get jobs.
Right.
People don't get jobs because either they're not they're not using the right strategy to get the jobs, or they're not interviewing well, or they haven't really understood what they need to get that job. But I'm not hiring someone because they don't have a certification on conflict management. That's not happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a very good answer. And I totally know what you mean about doing it because you think you're like crossing off your to-do list, but really is it going towards the bigger picture? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Do you have any advice on reaching out to someone at the company you find a job at before actually applying? I heard this is recommended, but it can be challenging if we are trying to apply within the first few days of posting.
So Maya, first of all, if there is any name attached to a job posting, you're going to connect with that person on LinkedIn immediately. If not, if you're applying to be a marketing manager, you might go on LinkedIn and find the marketing director and reach out to them and just say, hey, my name's Maya Dupovac, and I just applied for the marketing director job. And I'm really hopeful that we'll have a chance to meet. Let's connect. So when you do that, you are, again, kind of like the cover letter. You're showing this is someone who's actually taking the time to like hunt and peck to find me and is writing to me. Later in the process, if the recruiter says tomorrow you're moving on to the second interview, you're going to be interviewing with Kelly Biskubiak, I'm connecting with Kelly. Really looking forward to meeting you at our interview tomorrow. This gives Kelly a chance to look at my LinkedIn profile, which hopefully is really good. And I get a chance to look at theirs, so I know a little bit more about them. We had a student who wrote to us yesterday who graduated last week, and she said that she interviewed at Slalom, which is a great newer consulting firm. And the hiring manager said, I looked at your LinkedIn, and that's why I interviewed you. I have so many candidates to interview, but your LinkedIn actually made me excited. It wasn't just a restatement of your resume. It gave me a real feel for your personality and who you are. Right. So absolutely, you want to connect with people on LinkedIn.
And Maya, you're always starting with your own network first, because that's going to potentially net your quickest results. So you want to look through your own network of, do I know anyone here that's working at this organization? And
then just to mention timeline, because you were asking about whether you should do it before you apply. It depends. Typically, I say do them in tandem. The risk in waiting is sometimes the job might say it's posted for 30 days, but they get inundated in the first week and then they close it. So if you see a job that's a dream job for you, apply right away so you're in the queue, and then immediately start networking. The other thing to know is that even if you network your way in, let's say you find one of those jobs before they're posted. I network with Kelly. She's, oh gosh, we have something that might be opening up. I'm already in the queue. Yeah. I still often will have to go through the motions and apply through the job board so that I'm you're in their system.
In their
system. Yeah. Okay.
And I'm so sorry. It's the perfect time for my dogs to be barking like crazy.
Oh, it's okay. I know here.
I will say from a TMP perspective too, it's better to get your application and then message someone. So then you're there. So then we can say, oh, they're already in. Here's their name and email, and we have them. That helps connect the dots quicker.
Yeah.
Okay. One more question. I might not read it. Oh, are you done barking? Their like least favorite dog is out the window right now.
Oh.
Okay, this is our last question, but it is a great one. I am hearing from multiple experts that Resumé should be solely focused on ATS, but I also want to create one for humans, and I think something with a few design elements will help it stand out. What do you recommend, and where can we find that balance?
Okay. Well, Catherine, I would say there is no balance, and to me, this is a real binary issue. And this is why, and I say this all the time, you're so sick of hearing me say this, but every time I go to, because we're constantly learning ourselves, we go to webinars, we learn from other people in our field. And I sit through lots of workshops where they're saying, you need to write a custom resume for each job. It has to be loaded with keywords and blah, blah, blah.
We know people who haven't gotten jobs because
because then I open up your link. You can only have one LinkedIn. I guess this is what I'm saying, Catherine. You can have one LinkedIn. Everyone will look at your LinkedIn. People will read your LinkedIn far more carefully than they'll read your resume.
Yep.
And if that LinkedIn isn't consistent with the resume, because I got resume A, but the LinkedIn is written more towards resume C, I'm not going to interview you, right? So that's the biggest reason not to just do customized resumes. The reason not to load a resume with ATS, with those keywords, I mean, obviously you're gonna have some keywords because they're organic, they're natural to what you're doing, but just slamming a resume with keywords to fit a job board is just, again, it's inefficient. Your chances of getting through. So the average American, I think it's 20% of Americans got their jobs solely by applying online. If you take out the people whose jobs can very easily be quantified in zeros and ones, which is computer programmers, software developers, certain types of engineers. So unless you're one of those and you have no career gap and you've always done that, then maybe it makes sense. But most of us aren't that. And certainly not the people working with the Mom Project and us, certainly not us, not Elizabeth. So your chances of getting through are in the single percentages, and that's just getting an interview. Right. So why would you spend the time? It takes a lot of time to study keywords, dump them in appropriately, send them out to the right people, right? Yeah. And it's not the way we talk.
Right.
So as a hiring manager, I can tell you right now, when I see a resume filled with keywords, I'm glazing over and I have no idea who you are. But when I read Anne's resume, which is the one we showed, I remembered her. So I would say there really isn't a balance, and it's just got to be, you have to trust your gut and trust the authority of the people you're talking to.
Yeah.
I'm muted. That was a great answer. Thank you both. And I think it also trust that you will find the right spot when it's meant to be, but it's so hard. There's so many hacks, and I don't think you can look on LinkedIn or scroll through Instagram without seeing these hacks about how you can achieve X, Y, and Z. So
I know.
It's like there's no balance.
It's really not so much a numbers game.
Yes.
I mean, the numbers are part of it. You can't apply one place, but thoughtful, well vetted, and well supported applying for jobs, supported by me connecting Kelly, who's connected with her husband, who's going to tell the hiring manager, my wife knows her. Mm-hmm. As a hiring manager, I don't know that. When I get an application through an ATS, it could be a bot creating it. It's very common now. It could be someone in jail. Just knowing that Kelly is a human being who my wife knows or met, that puts you way at the top of the list. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you both so much. And thank you for going a little bit over.
Anytime. Do we ever not?
No, I loved it. Thank you for going a little bit over.
For letting us.
And as we mentioned, this is recorded and will be sent via email, and you can rewatch it right here on LinkedIn or over on the Mom Project's YouTube channel. Susan and Kelly, thank you so much for sharing all of these amazing tips with us. I mean, your job searching changes every 6 months. We really do have to stay up to date on what's happening, how we can evolve. So thank you both. It's always such a pleasure to have you with us and sharing your knowledge. So we really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you too. Yes. And all of you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, and have a wonderful day.